I very humbled, but completely honored to have been asked to be the keynote today by such a wonderful organization as the Pay It Forward Fertility Foundation, started by folks who are also sitting where you are today. They are a testament to the generous spirit of a community that seeks to pay it forward and help others. There's something very, very personal about this medical condition, disease, whatever you want to call it, that touches the heart and spirit in such a dramatic way. So being a keynote is not something that I do every day. So in preparing for this speech, I decided to do what I call a random walk, and I decided to go to TED.com and look at some of their incredible videos online. If you ever want to be inspired or to watch some incredible people deliver some incredible speeches, go to TED.com. I believe in doing what I call these random walks. I do it when I go into a bookstore, for example. When something calls to me in a dramatic way, I usually end up buying that book, and it usually ends up being the exact thing at that time, for some reason in my life, that I need to read and understand and learn about. So I did the same thing that day and browsed around TED.com. Because again, I wanted to learn something, anything, to help me give a rousing, soul-searching, and life-changing speech. You can tell me how I do afterwards. The first video I watched was an engineer at Google. Don't ask me why I decided to watch an engineer at Google and how I thought I could use what he had in his speech today, but I did. He was a charming fellow, a little nervous in his delivery. But the theme was all about how compassion in an organization can be the missing element to creating an atmosphere of success. He demonstrated all kinds of examples where Google folks come together and make things happen, like building hospitals in remote regions in India, for example, where none such existed. Things that clearly make the world a better place. Then I went on to my next video. I chose a woman whose background was in theology, and I couldn't believe my ears when about 3 minutes into her speech, she was explaining how compassion is the truly historic reason for why religion and spirituality came about. The underpinnings of societal religious views were based on compassion. All religions, by the way. So there you have it. And I truly believe things happen for a reason. The theme, compassion, hit me over the head like an anvil, and it actually made the speech very easy to prepare. The word compassion is derived from Latin, and it actually means co-suffering. According to my trusty Wikipedia, compassion is an emotion that is a sense shared of suffering, most often combined with a desire to alleviate or reduce the suffering of another, to show special kindness to those who suffer. Compassion essentially arises through empathy and is often characterized through actions, where a person acting with compassion will seek to aid those they feel compassionate for. So compassion essentially means the acting of our feelings of empathy, sensing, experiencing, and truly feeling another's suffering as your own. And as it turns out, as I did further research about compassion, that thinking compassion and meditating on compassion can actually change your brain and make you happier. There is scientific evidence of this. Analyzing the brains of monks who are meditating on compassion have a 100% higher level of the happy hormones running through their bodies. Matthew Ricard, who is also a monk, who is known as the happiest person on earth, had his brain measured while he was meditating on compassion, and his happiness levels were off the charts. Thanks to science, we can measure these things. And having again sat where you are now, not too long ago, I remember the feelings of wanting to have our second child, just like it was yesterday. I most certainly have this sense of co-suffering with you. I feel you. I understand where you have been, where you are today. My feelings of compassion are right here, right now. And when I did realize my dream of having another, I was stirred from such a deep place to want to turn around and help. Actually, there was somebody very close to me, my best friend, who started to have difficulty in conceiving. And then it became really the birth of the company that you see here today, Circle and Bloom. That now I can define that as compassion an incredible amount of compassion that spurred me to help move on and to help her and eventually many, many more. I had feelings of jealousy when I was trying to conceive. I had feelings of lack of control, like something or someone outside of myself was beginning to call the shots in my life. It was very scary. Not to mention all of the tests, all of the procedures, all of the drugs, all the doctors telling you one thing and then another. I was diagnosed with PCOS as a late teen and didn't have much trouble conceiving our first child, Jacqueline, but it was a completely different story with our second. And I am someone who has some level of resiliency, given the fact that as a younger person, I dealt with the deaths of both of my parents. My dad when I was only 12, and my mother when I was in my mid-20s. I had the honor of holding her hand while she took her last breath. Believe it or not, my experience with secondary infertility was just as hard, if not harder, than those experiences. I think what created my resiliency in dealing with their passing was that fundamentally my life choices were still my own, my goals, my future, my desires in life, and I still felt in control of them. But not so with trying to get pregnant with Abigail. It was like someone flipped a switch from on to off, and I no longer felt in control. It was a very difficult time in my life. The feelings of relief and elation when I would get the double lines, and then find out a few weeks later that I miscarried, sent me on a roller coaster of emotions, and it seemed as if, again, that my life wasn't my own anymore. What happens with infertility is that your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are on autopilot, especially when you see another woman pregnant or see some baby clothes. For me, it was those itsy-bitsy diapers that would send me over the edge. There isn't a part of your life that isn't affected by this condition, from your physical self, your emotional self, your marriage or relationship, your family or societal relationships, and of course, your financial situation. Every single aspect is impacted, just like if you were, God forbid, experiencing a life-threatening disease like some form of cancer. So as I said, I came through this experience with an intense desire to want to help others. I'm clearly not alone in this. Again, look at this wonderful organization, the Pay It Forward Fertility Foundation, that was established with the same fundamental goals as mine. We witness new organizations cropping up all the time, those with the same experience of infertility and wanting to help others. Compassion. When I had the idea of Circle and Bloom, which struck me like a lightning bolt, one morning over coffee, my life was never the same. Remember those random walks I was talking about? There was a time in my life when I was really debating whether or not I should press full steam ahead with this idea. It would have meant working really late at night and on the weekends, so I meditated on it. I went to St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City during my lunch hour and asked the question. What came back was a very strong image in my mind about a post-it note on a sidewalk. It was such a strange image to pop into my mind, a post-it note on a sidewalk. So I gathered my things and left the cathedral, and of course, keeping my eyes peeled for that post-it note on all the sidewalks of New York City. I came up empty. The rest of my day went on just like it should, and I was driving home much later that night, my mind focusing on a million things, and I was pulling into my driveway, and as I did, I saw this flicker on my left-hand side, and so I pulled the car to the end of the driveway, walked out of the car, walked to the end of the driveway, and we have a sidewalk, and on the sidewalk was not a post-it note, but a discarded lottery ticket that when I compared, though, to a post-it note, it was the same exact size and dimension as one. I couldn't believe my eyes. I do believe it was my calling, my fate, to build this company, to develop programs to help reduce stress and open the mind-body connection, and to stand here before you today. I feel so blessed, and this is absolutely my silver lining. But again, it was compassion hitting me over the head and asking me to act. So my entreaty to you at this point, those feelings of compassion can help you find a better way of coping while on this journey, it's worth a look, right? You know that being in a state of compassion takes you outside of your problems. It takes you out of your own worries or wants or desires. By practicing compassion for those around you, your energy changes. You become softer and less resistant to change. And then something magical happens. All that love and positive energy come back to you in the form of happiness, no matter what difficulty you might be experiencing. I believe that compassion is simple and found in simple acts like telling someone it's okay. When you smile at a stranger and the smile is returned. When you treat yourself to something special because you deserve it. When you offer to help someone in need. When you see an ambulance and you say a prayer. When you do something nice without expecting anything in return. When you hug a friend tightly. When you donate money to charity for those in need. If you've ever been to an AA meeting or an Al-Anon meeting, you see gobs and gobs of compassion, co-suffering. This very event, all of us sitting here today, made possible through compassion. I did an online webinar this past week in honor of National Infertility Awareness Week with Dr. Rod Kiltz. He's a reproductive endocrinologist in Syracuse. And we talked about the mind-body connection. And he is truly a strong believer in the power of positive thinking. What he does every single day, and this is a practice of compassion for himself and therefore the patients he serves. He wakes up and repeats these words. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day. He firmly believes this mantra has changed his life, and it starts his day off to help serve the needs of his patients in the best way he knows how. I thought it was so cute also when he described that in his office, all the nurses and people come together every so now and then and do what he calls a huggle, kind of a group hug. And when I tell you that his office is a special place, I've been there. I saw all of the smiles in all of the people's eyes, and it was pretty special. And I was thinking of another example of someone in our lifetime that was someone who lived a life based on compassion and thought of Mother Teresa. Right? She was truly the definition of compassion. At the age of 36, she describes having from God the call within the call to leave the relatively cushy life of the convent and help the poor while living among them. What an incredible example of a woman who gave her life in such a humble way and changed the world. In her words, being in the nursing profession, we are in a unique position, which gives us opportunities to do many small things for the comfort and care of those in need of our services. There are so many little things which often go unnoticed by others, but are so important to the patients we serve. When done with love and compassion, these small things are transformed into something wonderful, priceless, and tangible. I believe an excellent way to practice compassion, and this is courtesy of the Dalai Lama, in a very simple form of meditation. Practicing meditation can be a wonderful way to settle the mind, help strengthen your ability to reduce stress. When you meditate, oftentimes it is helpful to focus on your breathing, maybe a word or a phrase to quiet the mind. So his form of meditation, what he suggests, on the in-breath, think, cherish myself. On the out-breath, think, cherish others. Cherish myself, cherish others. Another way to practice compassion is seeing yourself in others as you walk around today, or in every day for that matter. Maybe focus not on the differences between you and others, but on the commonalities. We fundamentally are so similar in most ways. We all crave to be loved, we crave attention, we want our dreams to be fulfilled. So as you walk around here today, remember that. Try to see yourself in others, and I believe it may change your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. In many ways, however, especially when you're in the midst of such a difficult life journey, it might be actually easier to have compassion for others that are a bit more at a distance than expressing compassion for those in your immediacy, namely yourself and your partner. As I said earlier, what you are going through is impacting most aspects of your life. It is imperative, I think, that you think in terms of compassion for yourself and for your partner. I was talking about the speech with my best friend, who I referred to earlier, who actually ended up adopting their third child. And it was only when her husband was able to put himself in her shoes, compassion, and see that and feel that she didn't feel as if her body was ready and that adoption felt right for her, and that he agreed, but it was compassion that led him to free their life choice in order to make that grand decision to move forward with adoption. And they are the happy parents of an adorable little baby boy from Florida. And if your light is switched to off like mine was, and if your thoughts are also out of your control, practicing compassion for yourself, allowing to truly listen to your own thoughts from that deeper place inside, the witnesser of your thoughts, can you begin the process of forgiveness, the process of healing, the process of taking the next step in a positive direction. People talk of hope and perseverance when they talk about infertility, and I believe that those are absolutely key. But in order to hold those ideals as truth in your life, I believe that you need to be constantly practicing compassion for yourself and for your partner. Tools are out there for you. This is one of the goals that we have with the programs we have developed. It's possible. So my random walk and unfailing belief in that things happen for a reason has brought me not only here today, but gave me the clarity and content of which to share with you. Whether you believe that there is scientific evidence to practicing compassion which leads to happiness, or witnessing the legacy of love left by Mother Teresa, or the fact that Google's success is because of compassion, I hope that I may have placed the seed in your own hearts. Because I believe, again, to practice compassion towards yourself so that a way forward is always visible. The light in your life can be switched back on, and no matter what the outcome in this fertility journey, everything will be okay. You have the control through compassion to switch the light in your life back on. And I have to tell you that writing the speech, delivering the speech, has enabled me to see a new side of life as well. Because of me being here today, I have changed as a result. Again, feeling so honored to have this chance. Let me leave you with the words of the Dalai Lama. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Thank you.